Okay. So, we're in Parshas Behar. I'm going to share my screen so people can see it. Behar.
Other people that are online.
Yeah, we have one something that's joined us online. Trying to get back to the app, but the computer's being a bit naughty and not letting me. Here we go. Let's share screen. And here we go. There we go. Fantastic. And that way, I'm gonna record on this computer. 1 second. No, this is not working. Cancel this. Record. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so Parshas Behar. And the Parsha starts with Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe Behar Sinai Limud. Now the Balkari this morning. Don't know if you noticed. Were you in the 8:30 or the 7th? Balkari this morning. So Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe, and he stopped. He said Behar Sinai because you Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe Limud. So Behar Sinai is an unusual one, which is why this Parsha is called Behar. So the Noam Elimelech is asking what is the particular relevance of writing Behar Sinai. Now we know there are many other Mefarshim that grapple with this point, but it says like this: we know that the first Mishnah in Avos, in fact that's how it starts, says Moshe Kibel Torah Mesinai Mesorah LeYeshua. Then it says VeYeshua LeZkenim VeNeviim Mesorah LeAnshei Knesset Gedolah in the end. So Noam Elimelech asks a very obvious grammatical question. He says, Yesh Daktek Shem B'tchilo Ksiv U'Mesorah LeYeshua. It starts off by saying, explaining the chain of Torah and the Mesorah, that Moshe Rabbeinu gave it over to Yeshua. And then it says, Yeshua LeZkenim, and it doesn't say Yeshua Mesorah LeZkenim, and so forth and so forth. V'gam Zekenim LeNeviim, it doesn't say U'Mesorah, but it does say V'hadanema U'Mesorah LeAnshei Knesset Gedolah.
So it like skips.
Yeah. So we start with Kibel, Mesorah, and then we've got Lamad, and in the end we've got again a Mesorah. Again, the concept of Mesorah, but only at the end. So, question begs to be asked. Right. Why did they actually change it? There must have been a reason as to why they decided to deviate and to use different words, one word in the beginning, and then change it again, and then coming back to the same word. So it says like this. Why doesn't it say that Hashem Mosar Atayr LeMoshe or something like that, and Moshe Kibel V'nira Letaretz Alpigam HaGemara, and it seems that we need to answer by referring to a Gemara Megillah. The Gemara Megillah brings down the pasuk which says, Lama Tiratztun Haram Gavnunin. Why are you jumping Gavnunim mountains? What does Gavnunim mean? So we're going to see from the explanation in the Gemara. All the mountains gathered together, figuratively speaking, in front of Hashem, and they said, please give the Torah on us. And Hashem said to them, you're all considered to be blemished when put in comparison with Har Sinai. Meloshan Gibbein. So the term in the pasuk where it says Gavnunim, what does Gavnunim mean? It's a very unusual word. Okay. It refers to Gibbein or Dak when it talks about the Baalei Mum by a Kohen or by a Behema. it says giving, and therefore these just like the Baal Mum has got the term gibbein, so too the mountain which has not got the humility of Har Sinai is considered a Baal Mum like that as well. What is so special about Har Sinai? Because Har Sinai was the lowest of all of them. To teach us that the Torah will only continue, it will only stay fresh, somebody who makes himself into an honor, somebody who lowers themselves and has the capacity to come down. Moshe Rabbeinu very much excelled in this area, and therefore that's how he could receive the Torah, the Torah from Hashem, because Hashem, just like Hashem had decided, I'm going to give the Torah on Har Sinai because Har Sinai is the choicest of mountains because it has this anava. So Hashem had already, as it were, shown His will to do so, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu, similarly having this anava, was more than ready to become the recipient, just like Har Sinai was a recipient. Moshe Rabbeinu in human form was a recipient, right. And that's why it was so easy but in a certain sense, it was the use of the word Kaballa to be mekabelit. That it's like when somebody gives it to me, I don't need to do very much. I just need to stand there and receive it. Meaning, it was given to wholeheartedly without Moshe Rabbeinu was an honor. That's just who he was. He didn't have to work harder to work on some other midah so that he could receive the Torah. So. Now, the Mesorah starts. The chain of the Mesorah starts. Moshe Rabbeinu has to give it now to Yeshua. Yeshua didn't have it in him on his level to receive the Torah from Moshe, like Moshe had it in him on his level to receive the Torah from Har Sinai, from Hashem. So now, in this segment of the chain of the Mesorah, Moshe Rabbeinu has to use his own efforts to give to Yeshua, rather than Yeshua working for it, as it were. So because Yeshua couldn't have achieved the necessary level or the necessary state whereby Moshe Rabbeinu was able to give it to him, just like it's Moshe Kibbutz Sinai, and then you would say Yeshua Kibbutz Moshe. And therefore the Mesiras Nefesh, whatever that means, Mesiras Nefesh, obviously Yeshua was willing to learn, very willing to learn, very, very faithful, but on his level, it required an extra input from Moshe Rabbeinu. And he gave it to him with all the Kedusha and everything. We also find in the Torah that it says that Moshe put some of his Ruach Nevuah, as it were, on Yeshua. And now in time when Yeshua took the Zekanim, why is there no Lashon of Mesiras Nefesh? He couldn't match Moshe Rabbeinu's Mesiras Nefesh. Limso lehem kol haTorah k'may Moshe lamdoi. To give them over the entire Torah just like Moshe Rabbeinu did. L'kach b'nema masuha ar limud. That's why it doesn't limud. That's why it doesn't say that he gave over the Torah to them. Rather, limud, he taught them.
So Mesorah is on a higher level than limud.
Mesorah is literally, I'm giving you what I have.
Right.
That's why we call it the Mesorah, because the Mesorah is, this is what we have, which was this same package was handed to the person before, and that same package before the person before him. Correct. But when you start saying the word limed, then it means that you're teaching parts. You're teaching what you can teach, and some of it gets lost.
Right. So already then some of it was lost.
Yeah, from Yeshua onwards it started getting lost.
Right.
And even though Moshe Rabbeinu didn't enter Eretz Yisrael, it was crucial that whoever took Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael he himself received had the Torah like Moshe had the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu gave it over to Yeshua, and for Yeshua almost had Kaviyachal a carbon copy like Moshe Rabbeinu had. And in Yeshua's lifetime, he was able to give over the Torah, but then the next generation, the next link in the Mesorah, couldn't do that.
But because Moshe was alive still when he was teaching Yeshua.
Yeah, so Moshe was alive when he taught Yeshua.
And also the Zkanim were alive.
The Zkanim were alive, but when we're referring to Mesorah Zkanim, what we mean to say is that in terms of kind of chronology. So the Zkanim in one generation aren't the same thing as the Zkanim in the next generation. But we don't know how to the Zkanim is like a name of a group of the leaders of Klal Yisrael. So after Yeshua, there was no one particular leader,
right.
And therefore they refer to as the Zkanim.
Oh,
but they're not the same Zkanim as they had in the Midbar. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that.
Oh, yeah, because they're all died. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whilst Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go into Eretz Yisrael, it was still vital for whoever leads the Yidden into Eretz Yisrael to be able to have the Kinyan of Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu had, because at the end of the day, there are now a new set of rules which are not relevant until they went into Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
All the mitzvahs hatloos ba'aretz. So it was important that Yeshua had a very, very clear understanding of all these mitzvahs and all these halachas in order to be able to tell the Yidden what to do. But after that, unless somebody particularly learned that halacha, the new leader of the generation had what the previous leader had, minus a little bit. So every time it got shaved off. It's a bit like there's a concept. If you make a copy of a copy, every time you lose something. Whereas between Moshe and Yeshua, it wasn't a copy of a copy. It was literally like he gave the original to him. But then once from Yeshua onwards, it was a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
It's surprising he didn't teach the children from a young age already, straight away.
You mean
Yeshua.
You
or
mean
even,
in the Midbar?
Yeah, or even Moshe, or even Yeshua when he came to Israel. You think he would have taught the young
children? That is interesting.
Much easier to teach young children than old people.
Yeah. So I wonder.
When he says Zkanim, maybe they were young when he taught them.
No, so I think the concept of Mesorah Zkanim is that as much as you can teach young children, it's important that somebody else knows everything. So in Yeshua's lifetime, he taught the Zkanim everything that he knew. It's possible that they taught the children. I don't know how it was then. I do know that Rabbi Akiva, now we're in the sphere now, and the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva was still dying, at least for another week, until Lag BaOmer, right? Because that's when they stopped dying. And there were 24,000 students, 12,000 pairs of two. And I can't remember the source of it, but I've heard it said that the halacha in Shulchan Aruch that I've seen is that the maximum amount of students you can have in a classroom, which when you can still teach effectively, is 25. That's the number.
Right.
And there's a Gemara which tells us that there were 600,000 children of an age that they are able to learn in Eretz Yisrael.
Right.
And if you multiply 600,000, if you divide 600,000 by 25, you reach 24,000. So what Rabbi Akiva was doing, he was setting up what you are actually talking about. He was setting up a Mesorah where the Rebbeim would teach the children.
But that was much later on.
Much later on, correct. But Rabbi Akiva wasn't so much after the Anshe Knesset Gadola, was he? Well, he was. It was a few generations later. But anyway, we're going to get to the Anshe Knesset Gadola in a second. It's excellent coffee. Yeshua כשלמד לזקנים, לא היה יכול לעשות מסירות נפש גדול כמו משה רבנו למסור להם כל התורה כמו משה לימדוי. לקח לו נאמר ומסור. That's why it doesn't say מסור, אלא לימד להם תורה. כפי כוחם, according to their strength, לקבל, to be able to receive. דור אחר דור. So, כתושה כוחם. Each generation was weaker, and therefore, because they were weaker, they were able to receive less. It doesn't say that it was given over, because given over means that whatever I have, I'm giving to you. But I might be giving it to you, but if you can't receive all of it, then it's not considered the Mesorah. And when the Nevi'im gave it over to the Anshin Sagdola, Ne'ema L'Shem Mesorah. Suddenly the L'Shem Mesorah comes back. Why? Shekachu haderech hateva. This is the way of nature. Shadava hayetze b'tivoi. Each thing that is towards its expiration, towards its end. B'tivoi L'seif hadava hu nes'ala. In its nature is that it becomes stronger again. For oila lemala. The only thing I can think of is, for example, a candle that burns the brightest just before it goes out.
Oh, okay.
He refers to Kamoy HaGalgal, like Galgal usually refers to a wheel. I don't know if he's referring. So I'm not. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not. So I wonder if he's talking about the downward motion propelling it to go up again, or what exactly he's referring to. It's not clear. The thing that's at the bottom comes up again. So somehow this power of Mesorah came back in the times of the Nevi'im. They got some kind of invigorated boost of energy where they were able to give over the Mesorah. And therefore, because of Mesiras Nefesh, they able to give it over, just like Moshe gave it over to Yeshua. The Nevi'im were able to give it to the Anshe Knesset Gedola. Nimtza Memela Etzel Moshe Me'Hashem Yisbarach Baruch Hu Ein Shayach Memela L'Shem Mesorah Klal Kim Kaballa. The concept of Mesorah is I'm giving you what I have. Now Hashem is infinite, so it's inappropriate to use the lashon of Mesorah because Hakadosh Baruch Hu is only giving what Moshe can comprehend in his human body, and therefore he has to use the lashon kibel. He received it because he was an anav. What does it mean, mi Sinai? He didn't receive it from Sinai, he received it from Hashem. He says, no, because he learned from Sinai. Meaning, because Moshe Rabbeinu had the same attribute as Sinai, therefore it's considered if we receive the Torah from Sinai. By virtue of being an anav like Sinai, he received the Torah. Like Sinai received it because it was the lowest of all the mountains. Perish. Hachzik atzmacha, strengthen yourself, Hashem was saying to Moshe, b'midas ha-Sinai. V'al when you strengthen yourself with the middle of ha-Sinai to be an anav, tuchal leima li'yisrael ha-Torah ha-Kedosha, you will be able to say to Kaisel the entire Torah, b'goydel k'tushoscha v'kalahavim, with all your might. And why is that? It's actually quite simple. An anav is able to leave all their baggage at the door. If I engage into discussion with you, and I'm a true anav, I can leave everything, all my thoughts, all my interpretations, all my conclusions, all my stereotypes, everything that has formed my mind to this day, I can leave at the door, and I can 100% take in what you're saying. And then, if need be, I'll be able to give over 100% of what you're saying to somebody else. Therefore, if somebody lacks another in any sense, what's happening is that there's some part of themselves which is
the ego.
The ego, exactly. Some ego is not allowing all that light to come into themselves, so they're not receiving everything. And even if, let's say, by chance, they are able to somehow miraculously be able to receive everything, by the time they give it over, their ego might come out a little bit, and then it might change a little bit, whether it's a nuance in something. But Moshe Rabbeinu, that's what Hashem is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, you've got this powerful midah anova, you'll be able to receive from me and give exactly the same thing over, but only if you keep on the Har Sinai. Only if you attach yourself to the attribute of Har Sinai. And it's truly something amazing, particularly when it comes to even learning with people, learning b'chavrusa. It took me personally a while in yeshiva through chavrusas to understand that learning b'chavrusa means I can have an opinion, that's fine. But it also means that I am able to listen to somebody else's opinion and consider that maybe that opinion is better. I remember I went with my cousin. In fact, it's better to do it that way, and the reason why is because I used to learn with my cousin on Shabbos in yeshiva for a short while, and he had a certain way of learning, and I had a different way of learning, and his way of learning Gemara was that you read the words that were written in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, whatever it was, and then without even translating it or explaining it, just reading it word for word, you went straight to Rashi and you read Rashi, and there you had your answer. Now, that's one way of doing it, but you'll never learn, because basically what you're doing is you're spoon-feeding yourself information. I said the way to learn is, you read the Mishnah, you try and understand the Mishnah, then Rashi comes to explain it, and you say, Rashi is trying to teach me that it's not like what I thought. And then I would learn. He came around in the end. But I think the concept is the same with in any chabur. So the point is to be able to listen to other people, become a lamda eskalti, because otherwise just sit by yourself. What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. What are the reasons that it's always done only in a pair? Because the other day I asked the rabbi if somebody else can join us, because he never had a chabruta. He said, no, you cannot study 3, only 2.
The thing with studying 3 is that, let's say one of the 3 is not able to listen as well, then what will end up happening is you'll have basically an us and a them. What that means is that a person may not have the courage to try and take more, because the other 2 have already understood, and he'll get left behind, but he doesn't want to make an issue about it, so he just moves on. Whereas when you deal with the chavrusa,
I'm not sure.
It's much easier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go beyond 2, you've got 3. Now it depends. Sometimes you need to know it depends what the structure is. But for example, some settings, a chabur is appropriate. Like here, for example, I'm reading from the Noam and Elimelech. I'm happy to stop at any point in time and talk about it with whoever has something to offer.
Yeah.
Because we're comfortable enough as people that know each other to say whatever's on our mind about it. And that's not always the case, particularly when you're going to have, 3 people that are in the Gemara want to go ahead. Particularly when you do want to cover ground. Chaburas are usually very much not so much about covering ground. It's about discussing, the topic and trying to understand it on a deeper level. And very often, the person leading the Chabura, I would hope, learns from the others that are there. And last week I thought was a fantastic Chabura, very engaging. This week is a quieter one, which is fine. This week it's more of a Chavrusa than a Chabura, but that's also okay, because the chap that was on had left.
My son really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, he likes it.
That's good. Are you ready for another piece, or do you want to stop here?
I didn't think about it. I should actually tell him that he can go online to join.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know. I think I never told him.
And then he's an hour ahead there now, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's close to 11
it will be too late for today, but
yeah,
generally he can.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, you can just forward him the link.
It's actually a good idea. I need to tell him.
Yeah.
What does he do? Just join? How does it? There's a link.
You just click. If you've got Zoom, on his phone or wherever, it'll just take him and
like a normal Zoom.
Yeah.
The link is on the group.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll need to tell him. He's not on the group actually.
Okay, so send me his number. Well, I'll add him.
Because he would do it definitely.
Yeah. You ready for one more piece, or should we stop here?
It's up to you.
Okay, we'll do one more piece. This is actually quite a nice piece.
I need to wait for mine anyway.
Okay, there we go. So, the pasuk tells us it's a very interesting way of discussion. It's almost like Hashem is painting a picture of this is what's going to happen. You're going to say, what are we going to eat in the 7th year? And then, don't worry, I'll give you the bracha. It's very interesting. It's almost like a Gemara style of a question and an answer and everything, which is, why is this necessary? So the Noam Elimelech.
It's not typical of.
It's not typical at all.
It's written in.
It's a very good for educational purposes because it gets the message across properly. But it seems to be that there's another message. So he says, "B'shem Ochi hachasat meforsam." He doesn't mention him by name, but it's very likely that he's referring to his brother Reb Zusha Vanipali. Reb Melech and Reb Zusha would very often go travel together from city to city without revealing their identity, and they would go in what they would call a self-inflicted galus, because by going into galus you have a kapara for whatever you need, and also for the rest of Klal Yisrael, and that wasn't the only reason they did it. But they also did it so that they can learn from others and and inspire others as well. He says like this. The Torah went out of its way here, out of its usual style. Because so the Torah never writes any extra words, letters, nothing extra ever. So there must be a reason for why the Torah has decided to use the style of we're over here. A second here. There must be a reason why the Torah wrote this in a style of asking a question and then giving the answer. A question in itself is never asked in the Torah. Questions are not usually asked. So this is new.
Yes.
Chinomru was his name by
is
exactly never very rarely asked. So
yeah. So the same message would have come across if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have just said, "Don't worry, tzivisi es b'chosi lachem."
Very good.
And thereby you don't even have the question in the first place. Because if somebody would come after Moshe gave the Torah and would say, "What we eat in the 7th year?" Somebody say to him, "What, you didn't read the Pasha? The Pasha says, "Tzivisi es b'chosi."
And every lesson in the Torah is precious.
It's precious, yeah, exactly. So nobody will ask because we'll know what's going to happen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world. He created it figuratively with certain pipes and channels by which he would give goodness in this world. And it's not unbound; it's bound in a certain sense. That each bracha has its address and where it needs to go. And usually it just keeps flowing. Hashem wants to give, He wants to give, He wants to give. The problem is that we get in our own way, often by thinking we don't deserve it. And when you think you don't deserve, then you don't get. That's just practically how it goes. But there is another obstacle. When a person falls from his level, he doesn't really believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu in terms of bitachon. Obviously, he knows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world and everything, like on a high level, but not on the personal level. Hamashkiach Hamiti, who's really checking each and every one of what they need. For each and every one of us.
Doesn't believe it.
Not just generally. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't put some kind of program on and say, right, now this program is just going to feed everyone. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, each and every one of us, each and every second, what we need, not just beklolistic, but protestic on whether it's food wise or from a mental health perspective or emotional, whatever else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us what we need, but we get in our way. A person, when he has this thoughts are so powerful. People think thoughts don't really matter. I walk around every day with all my thoughts. It doesn't really hurt anybody. But in the worlds that we don't see, they can cause havoc, and they do unfortunately cause havoc. And this person here who has this thought, that he doesn't so much believe, it's not real by him. Like Hakadosh Baruch Hu checks, he's so interested in what I need and what that person needs, just in general. Then through this thought, which is considered not to be pure, this thought blemishes the upper walls, it blemishes the flow, it stops the flow, and it weakens. Our thoughts create reality. When we say L'Shem Yichud, the idea of L'Shem Yichud is to connect our thoughts with our actions.
That's really hard.
It's connected.
It's hard to think.
Well, that's why a lot of people don't say it. And my Siddur says to think it, not to say it. Because if you say it, I think we once discussed it before, if you say it and it's not real, then you're just lying. So better not to say it at all. Just think it.
Really?
Yeah. I find some statement says that. But our thoughts are so powerful, and our thoughts.
How can we prove that our thoughts are powerful?
How can we prove our thoughts are powerful?
Because I tell you the truth, I struggle with
You're asking for physical evidence that our thoughts are powerful?
Yeah.
It's a difficult question, you realize that, yeah? You want to have physical proof of something which is not physical.
Spiritual.
Because it's a very, very difficult concept. Apparently.
Yeah, because for us we live in a physical world, so unless we see it
Real.
real,
It's hard enough thinking you did by the
Okay.
effect.
so let's get to the end, and I'm going to answer that question. I've got 7. Let me just get to the end, and I'm going to answer a good question, and I've got an answer for you. Let's just work through it first. And the flow stops. Kadosh Baruch Hu has to, quote unquote, reignite the engine of Shefa again, because this person has blocked it. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol, whatever that means, has to reignite it and send it back again. When you have this thought of maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Semin of Shefa, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I now have to reignite, resend out again my bracha to you, the bracha that was flowing the whole time, which stopped now because you had this idea of, who knows, maybe Hashem won't give it to us, maybe we won't have enough. Because Baruch has to put it, has to reignite it again. That you should trust Hashem completely, wholeheartedly. Don't even think about it. Because just the thought alone. And it's Kaviyachol, you're being matriach Kadosh Baruch Hu to have to now again send the shefa. It's Havis Mechodesh. Chisaymu. Perish. What does it mean Chisaymu? It means Kasher Tayrum Kach. When you say this, Bas Tatricho Isi, and then you're being matriach mi Kaviyachol with Tzivis B'Chosi. Elo Loitis Nagucha. Tirtuch B'Hashem. So I'm preempting it that you shouldn't do this. So I'm telling you now, Hashem says that this day will come and you probably will have this thought, but don't worry. So now that you know that you will have this thought and you shouldn't worry, you want other thoughts.
Wow.
Now, to answer your question, I once saw an amazing. There's a book. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but it's a whole book about concepts within the Torah that we see in science. And they did a certain test. So they wanted to see, not so much about machshava, but dibur. And I think it's good enough. I think it's good enough if I show you that dibur has a real effect.
Of course.
Yeah? So what they did was, they decided they're going to freeze water. And you've heard about this? And they're gonna freeze 2 batches of water.
What?
On one batch of water, they're going to say positive words with feeling, with sincerity. Love, acceptance, goodness, all positive words. Okay. And they're going to speak out over the water during the freezing process. And then they're going to freeze it, something like that. And on the other batch, they're going to do the same, but with negative words. And the amazing thing is, they took out the batch, and they observed on the microscope the formation of the ice. They actually put 1 drop of water.
The crystal formation.
Yeah. The one that they said positive words was beautiful formations. It froze in a beautiful geometric... It's true.
100%.
It's true.
100%.
It froze in a beautiful geometric pattern. The negative ones were horrible patterns, asymmetric. And you see that's real. It's real. You can see it with your eyes. I mean, on the other hand, it's better to believe without the seeing, and that's really where the test is. And so this makes it easier for us. But at the same time, it's amazing to see something like this, because you see that words have real effect. And I'll tell you even more. In terms of something I saw yesterday, I didn't understand it 100%. So I'm going to explain you as much as I understood. The entire guf, is a microcosm of the Torah. Ramach Evorem and Shesagid, which together makes 613.
We know that, yeah.
The Shem Hashem is in every single cell of the body, because I saw yesterday this clip where they explained that there's a certain repetition
in the
strands of DNA which goes in the following sequence, and it repeats every four intervals. 10, 5, 6, 5. 10, 5, 6, 5. 10, 5, 6, 5. Yod, K, Vov, K. Yod, K, Vov, K.
Yeah.
Repeatedly over and over again.
Amazing.
And it's all there. We just only in more recent years have the tools to see it. But in a certain sense, it takes away a little bit of the nisayan, but it makes it easier in this generation. We need a bit of chizuk to be able to make it through it. So shkoyach, thank you everybody for joining, and let's see you next week.
Thank you.